and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who could come up with as many defensive stops against the Detroit Lions as the Jaguars can. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Did they end up with 0 stops in that game?
Debatably. So it was 7 straight touchdowns. Hendon Hooker came in, and then they got a field goal, and then the final drive they ran out the clock. So it depends on what you counted. They did not stop Jared Goff in this game.
That's a bad game.
Yeah, it wasn't great. We'll get into it. A lot of stuff to get into. What was great was this week. This was the best week of the season.
I mean, we had a lot of games with a lot of stakes. We wanted to learn a lot about these teams, and I think everybody rose to the occasion. I thought we had some great games, some great divisional rivalries that I thought were fantastic. The best game of the week was the New England Patriots. No, I'm just kidding. The best player of the week, though, was Taysom Hill. So we had that going.
Yes. A lot to get into. Let's start off with the Sunday night game, as we always do. This was an incredible game. I mean, it started off like this was the Chargers coming out party. They got up, 27-3, and it was just feeling like this was what was going to happen. The Chargers were going to roll. All of a sudden, the Chargers offense completely stops being able to move the ball. And when it would move the ball, there'd be a Justin Herbert fumble. Joe Burrow just completely went off in this second half, not just hitting open guys. There were some open guys, but also making things happen. He ends the day with 356 yards and 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins has nearly 150 yards. And yet, once again, partially due to multiple missed field goals at the end by Evan McPherson, the Bengals' story of the season is Joe Burrow played great in yet another loss.
Yeah. It keeps happening, man. I said I liked the Bengals in this game because I was like, I don't really know how the Chargers generate explosives, like enough explosives to keep up with Cincinnati. And I mean, they did it by Justin Herbert having maybe the best half of football this season from a quarterback. Like the first half was incredible, and then it was equally matched by the second half, which was pretty poor all around. And then Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati offense came alive. They made this thing a game, battled all the way back. And I mean, I could hear the Monday morning talk shows play in my head while I was watching this game. It was either this Bengals season is the season from hell. This is Zach Taylor's going to get fired this season, something along those lines, blah, 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 blah. And then there is the Justin Herbert factor, the Chargers factor of, oh, here come the Chargers blowing another game. Here it comes again. I just hear these kept playing out in my head. And then it was like all of a sudden nobody wanted to win the game. The Bengals tied it up. Then it was 3 straight punts for Los Angeles, while there was multiple missed field goals for Cincinnati as Evan McPherson let them down in this one. And yeah, I mean, I said the Bengals were like a top 5 team in the AFC performance-wise, and it doesn't matter. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team that I would probably say is 5th is the team that just beat them today, but it was certainly a very even matchup. At the end, J.K. Dobbins decided to just go into the end zone instead of sliding inside the 5 and kicking a chip shot field goal. Hard to blame him, given the way kickers are playing. Kyle, do we need to widen the goalpost?
No, definitely not.
Were we wrong? Was this just the wrong idea?
This just caught up to what happened earlier in the season when everybody was just making everything from 60 yards and in. Just wild.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it is funny how the pendulum has kind of swung. I mean, there's so many plays. Herbert wasn't perfect in this game. He was pretty close. I mean, the fumble wasn't great. He had a couple of missed throws, but I mean, we can start with the winning team. Justin Herbert played like a superstar in this game, and I think is trying to put himself in that. We talk about it's Mahomes, and then it's Lamar, Burrow, and Allen. Herbert, I still can't put in that tier, but again, he makes a strong case for number 5.
Yeah, he definitely. If you're gonna say the best of the rest, he has the most talent of the rest. If you take out the top 4 guys, he is the candidate for 5th. He is the most talented. Whether he always puts it together or not, even in this game, he had some easy throws that he missed in this one, but he also had some big time throws. And I mean, A couple of those throws to Lad McConkey, yeah, they were open, but he had to throw them over multiple defenders. Like, it's just not easy plays to make. And I mean, look, he has gotten better this season as the year went on, as he's gotten healthy. I mean, he was their leading rusher in this game, and J.K. Dobbins had that huge run to end the game. He was their leading rusher in this one. He had 2 monster runs. He's got 13 passing touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, he's doing a little bit of everything for this offense and maximizing their throws, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, what a wild game. I mean, let's go to the Bengals, who preseason I accidentally made the prediction that the Bengals were going to miss the playoffs and Joe Burrow was going to win MVP. A prediction that I now very much feel proud of. I think, even though obviously the MVP thing just won't happen because of the fact that they're 4-7. But like, where do we go from here? I mean, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase are so good. Like this, like I don't know if there's a single team other than I guess the Chiefs, just because Mahomes is better, that have like a top 3 like core that is as good as this Bengals core, and yet they're 4-7.
Yeah, I mean that's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to talk about this at this point now, right? Because I mean, like I said, they're likely not going to make the playoffs. They have to play Pittsburgh twice. That has now been proven not an easy place to win.
Yeah.
Not an easy team to beat. They have to, they have to win those ones. Broncos are in the playoff mix. They're still on the schedule. I mean, we have to talk about this team almost in a eulogizing way. Like, they've kind of blown this, right? Like, there's a good chance T. Higgins isn't on this team next season. Or if that is, they're depleting a defense that's already depleted or an offensive line that's already depleted. And I mean, that's going to be a really tough way to build a roster if you're paying all of those guys all of that money. And it just seems like that might be it for this big 3. I mean, this is probably the end of it. They've had a couple injured seasons from Joe Burrow with it. They made the Super Bowl one year, and then they had this year where these 3 are going to put up these monster numbers and lose.
I think it'd be a mistake to let T. Higgins go. I get that it does mean that there's going to be other holes in your roster. I think they can overcome some of the other holes in your roster. The issue is when literally the rest of your roster, other than Trey Hendrickson, is a hole. Like, that's just the problem right now.
Yeah, but all that's going to be a hole next year if they pay T. Higgins. I keep looking at these guys and like they have tried different things and it just hasn't seemed like the guys have worked out. They try to replace their expensive defensive players like a Jesse Bates with, draft picks. They've tried with draft picks and it hasn't worked. Like
they just haven't drafted well. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
It really is because like Cam Taylor-Britt hasn't really worked out. I would say a few of these guys on the outside haven't worked out. And yeah, I mean, even some of their expensive defensive players haven't worked out. They let DJ Reader go. They haven't been able to replace that. Their run offense, even though it was good statistically for a large portion of today until that last run, still hasn't really been up to scratch either. Like they've continued to chink away at the armor to like make this work, and it's not working.
Yeah, and they spent a ton of like these draft picks on like defensive linemen that haven't really hit. Yeah, it's just I mean that's just where they're at, right? Like like drafted Miles Murphy in the first round, like he hasn't hit at all. Like they've burned all these draft picks. That's the issue.
Yeah, I just the issue I have like they probably should pay T. Higgins because he can put up performances like this, and he almost caught that Hail Mary too. By the way, that was almost a perfect throw. But I just look at that and like how does this get fixed if you pay T. Higgins next season? Unless you have like what was the Chiefs draft 2021? That was like the generational draft. Like unless they have like that situation, how does this get fixed? You have to have a perfect draft basically.
Yeah, we have overlap 618 in the super chat. So we'll say that first. When is Jackson going to do a video on having overlap on as a guest appearance? Also, if anyone gets out of line, chat, I'm laying down the law. This is overlap the mod. Yes, lay down the law, overlap. Maybe in the off season.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, we'll see. Overlap. I don't want you to say something that gets us demonetized.
Yeah, he is. He's just going to constantly keep asking for a little bit more. That's what it seems like.
that's definitely what it is. It's very much to give him an inch, he takes the mile. I mean, to the Bengals, I don't think the difference. I think if they let T. Higgins walk, it's not like they can then fix all of these issues. Like there's so many issues on this roster right now. I think that
Mhm.
could help fix some of the other issues. At the very least, they are staying competitive in these games despite having all these issues because of how good their passing attack is. And Higgins has been hurt for most of the season. I
Yeah.
think that I think which that's part of his thing, right? He does get injured, but I think that the move is you try and figure out other ways to get this. And part of it is, I mean, they paid Orlando Brown Jr. That hasn't worked out. They drafted Amarius Mims. That hasn't worked out. They paid Alex Kappa. That hasn't worked out. It's like that's part of the issue. Is just
Mhm.
they're making mistakes. I don't think letting T. Higgins walk is the right answer.
Yeah. And maybe fixing a mistake with a mistake,
Yeah.
that's part of the issue. So, I mean, it's just been a wild season. This team is basically just the anti-Chiefs at this point. They
Mm-hmm.
played the Chargers, the Ravens again, the Commanders, the Chiefs, and of course, everyone else's best team in the league, the Patriots, and lost those all by one score. I mean, that like there's another scenario where this team, similar to the Chiefs, is like 10-1, 11-0.
Yeah. But it did not happen. Interesting to see where these two teams go. I still think the Bengals have a small chance because they do play the good news is they play the Broncos, so they have a chance to make up that game, right? And yes, they play the
Mhm.
Steelers twice. The rest of their schedule is easy, so they're not dead yet. But this is a tough loss for them. Let's move on. Let's go to Kyle. It's great when the 2 games of the week just completely live up to the hype, and that's what happened. Chiefs Bills it ended up being a 2-score game. For Chiefs fans listening, that's when you win by more than 7 points. That's might be confusing there. This was an awesome game. I mean, this was a very fun game. I think it was back and forth throughout. The Bills found themselves up 2 points with 4th and 2. They decide to go for it. Josh Allen runs through the whole Chiefs team. That was kind of the play of the season. That feels like his Heisman moment, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think Josh Allen played out. I mean, Josh Allen had outstanding moments, and then he also had some moments that weren't great, but was kind of similar to Herbert. Was able to make it done when he
Mhm.
needed to, make the plays happen when he needed to, especially that big one. And yeah, the Chiefs undefeated no more. Kyle, what were your thoughts on this one?
Um, it was definitely a lot sloppier than we're used to seeing these two teams playing. Like we've seen these two teams play head to head now a lot. And a lot of the core is very much the same. Obviously, a few pieces here and there have been moved in and out, but like, I mean, you just look at you remember that playoff game, obviously the 13 seconds game, and that was just so much like the efficiency of those two offenses that game was just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And even the last game they played last season, it was unbelievable efficiency, even though the drives were longer because there was less explosive plays, all these adjustments they'd made. And this game just felt a lot more sloppier than we're used to with these two sides, and both defenses did have have their moments for sure, but it also felt like there was just missed throws from these two that we considered two of the best in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just some mistakes here and there, and like Xavier Worthy having that step out of bounds play too. That was I felt like a monumental play because I mean that
Mm-hmm.
would have been a touchdown and it ended up a punt. There was just things like that all over the place that I felt like were not quite what we're used to when seeing Chiefs Bills, but it was still very competitive, very fun, and still looked like two of the best teams in the league. And yeah, the Bills needed this game. They couldn't lose this game to Kansas City in this fashion. And when they scored that first touchdown and missed the extra point, I'm like, they're gonna lose off a missed
Uh-huh.
2-point conversion. Like it's just gonna happen now. Like that just has to happen. And they overcame it.
Yeah, I mean, there were moments when it felt like Kansas City could take this one. It just never happened. Yeah, both defenses did play well. I still think this was. I mean, we're saying both defenses played well. This was a 30-21 game in a low possession game. I mean, this was still
Mhm.
the offenses were what controlled this. Does Xavier Worthy just need to do they need to throw the ball to him 5 yards in bounds every play? Why does this guy he loves running out of bounds?
Yeah, and that one was the toes too, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean,
And
it
he
was
toe tapped before he caught the ball, and then he
mhm,
then he stepped out of bounds.
yeah, tough play there.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a monster start to this game. He did some really good things to open this game and put them in a position to kind of stay competitive when it looked like Buffalo might start running away with it quickly. Um, so you know, it was definitely some frustrating moments, I think, for both sides. I think both sides probably look at this game. I definitely don't think Chiefs fans will ever be worried in the Mahomes era, just because, like, they have Mahomes. And he's
Well, let me
proven
ask
it
you:
time and
were
time
you ever
again.
worried in the Brady era?
Um, I'm a stressful fan, but I mean, for the
Okay.
most part, I was also like, I just like, I felt like we were always going to be put in a position to win. It's just like, will we win or not? That was the stressful part.
Yeah, well, Red with a super chat. I think maybe I'm not sure if he speaks for all super fan, all Chiefs fans, but says, "Hey Jackson and Kyle, Chiefs fan here. I'm glad the Bills beat us in the regular season for the third year in a row. It always ends well for them." Yeah, I guess you're right, Kyle. Vibes are hard to get too down on if you're in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was just bizarre. Like that Mahomes play was like opens the game with a bad interception, just
Hmm.
completely misses the guy. Very un Mahomes throw. He's done that basically all year though, and I just don't really understand it. It's like he just wants to give them one.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, I think both sides could come out of this game and be like, I mean, the Bills are obviously going to be happy they won. I think both sides could come out of this game and be like, yeah, we could do a lot better, I feel like, and we will be better when there could be an inevitable rematch in the playoffs between these two sides.
Well, let me give the negative Chiefs take, because basically all season we had kind of been saying, you know what, this team doesn't look great, but they're 9-0. How can we say anything negative about them? And I still think the Chiefs are a very good team, but like, yes, it is true that last year this was a deeply flawed team that won the Super Bowl. This is still a deeply flawed team, and
Hmm.
yes, they won the Super Bowl. That doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl every year. This left tackle thing is a massive issue. I mean, they do not
Yeah.
have a left tackle. I don't know why they didn't trade for one. In the that's really what they should have done instead of Hopkins. The receiving core still isn't playing great, and kind of like what you've been on this, I think, really well. Where it's like this receiving core, or excuse me, this secondary for the Chiefs will give up big plays as well, and
Hmm.
they need Mahomes to kind of do it all himself sometimes, which is just the complete opposite take that people have. But that is some, like, in this game, they kind of had moments where like Mahomes just do your thing, and he did on some drives, but he couldn't do it on every drive because he's also having a down year for his standards. So like there are, I think, reasonable critiques to have of this Chiefs team.
Yeah. And even more so than last year in times, I feel like you said, I actually think the receivers are better this year than last year. Even with the Rice and Brown injuries, like I think the receivers are better this year than last year.
I don't
But
know if I
the
agree with that
offensive, you don't think so?
because I mean, again, Kelsey stepped up in the postseason last year. We'll see if he does that again this year. But like, I think Rasheed Rice was really good last year.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, having Rice in the playoffs was huge. I mean,
Hmm.
the hope would be Worthy could be that guy, and then I do think we're going to get more of Hopkins. He had some impressive plays today, even though it
Hmm.
wasn't a great day overall. But like, and then you just look at that. But I do agree, the secondary is a big problem. I don't want to say big problem because this defense is still good, but it is a
Hmm.
problem that like they had that last year and now they don't have it this year. And then the offensive line somehow got worse this year because the
Hmm.
left tackle situation, like you highlighted. So yeah, I mean there are still concerns with this Chiefs team. I think from an outsider's perspective, I think the fans are just going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've been spoiled with really good play from their quarterback for the last few years. So they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I mean we'll see what happens with the Chiefs. They looked a lot like the team we've seen all year, other than that they didn't win this time. Isn't that the fair take?
Yeah, but I think that's kind of why it's like it almost like crashes the illusion. I'm almost like,
Yeah.
well, like then how do I feel? Do I retroactively feel worse about some of these other games that you didn't look great in? And like uh, generally, I don't believe that teams just have championship DNA and find a way to win. I tend to think that there is actually an explanation, like Mahomes making great things happen at the end, or like it is luck. Like I think the fact that I heard people after they beat the Broncos saying like, "Well, it's just they know how to win. They're even like their field goal unit knows how to win." Like, no, they blocked the field goal. They got kind of lucky to win that game. Like I do think there
Mhm.
is some of that.
Yeah. I mean, there is some of it, and I think there are things that, they have obviously done really well. I mean, I do think this is a good special teams team and all that kind of stuff. So they
Sure.
clearly have things that they do well. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it definitely is a flawed team. I would agree with that. And the Bills were able to beat them this time. I don't know if it's going to happen the next time, but it did happen this time. So we'll see. Um, And then, like I said, I think the Bills feel really good about themselves. Can I rant about something?
Sure, I've been ranting already, so I'll let you go
Yeah.
ahead.
Sean McDermott drives me insane.
Okay, how come?
I don't know. Like, I just can't stand some of his decision making. He runs the same defense against his team every time. The
Mhm.
first touchdown for Xavier Worthy, he had a linebacker on him. This guy had the fastest 40-yard dash in the history of the NFL. Why is the linebacker covering him in man coverage in the red zone? Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. This team gets killed in the red zone every time against the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs look like they can't score in the red zone at all the last 2 years, except for Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason for that. You look at your defensive scheme. Granted, the Chiefs countered it with another challenge that wasn't very good. But then also it's like, why are you giving up timeouts against the Chiefs by calling bad challenges too? Like, just clearly catches on the sideline. He opens the game with a bad challenge call. Like, I don't know. He drives me so crazy sometimes, but like I think he's a good enough coach, but like, I don't know, like the difference between him and Andy Reid still feels kind of impactful.
Especially when they play each other. For whatever
Yes.
reason, his brain turns to mush when he plays the Chiefs.
But it was the same way at times with Belichick too. I mean, obviously when the Patriots got less talented, it changed things. But like it just feels like he can get like Jedi mind tricked by some of these coaches sometimes.
Maybe, perhaps. I'll go back and watch some of the old Bills Patriots games. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a very good coach. I think that he is not the top tier, not up there with the top tier coaches.
I think that's probably fair. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And just to clarify my point, the Chiefs are a very good team. The Chiefs could win the Super Bowl. I just think that like there are other teams that are in the Chiefs tier.
yeah, yeah, I think so too. I mean the thing is like we're gonna talk about all these teams here at the top, but like I think the AFC is kind of fascinating because like
Mhm.
all these teams kind of have like a thing. Like they all have different things in ways too, and they all have strengths and kind of major flaws. I would say all these teams have major flaws, honestly, in the AFC. Like I'm still gonna lean probably Mahomes, Allen, Lamar because that's kind of the state of the league and that's the best quarterbacks in the conference. But it's not crazy to me that any one of these probably six teams could win playoff games this year against another team. Like I really do believe that. I don't think it's crazy to say that that any of the top six teams can win. If a team like Denver wins, I'd be a little shocked. But like
Mhm.
that's just because they have a rookie quarterback. So
Yeah, and we'll get more to them. I completely agree. That's something I think this AFC is super fascinating. You know what? Let's do this. Kyle, let's power rank the AFC. Who's your top five in the AFC right now? Do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
um you can go first.
Okay. Well, I think it's at the top is where it's at the top is. I think the Chiefs and Bills are probably number one and two. I guess I'll say Buffalo. I mean, worth mentioning. We didn't even bring it up. They didn't have several of their best. They didn't have Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid in this game.
Hmm.
I'll go Buffalo. They won. I think that feels fair. I think I'm still going to pick Kansas City too. Again, I think I have to pick the Steelers 3 over the Ravens at 4 because they beat them and they've lost half the games that the Ravens have here. And then I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Chargers at 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for now I'd put the Texans 6 for sure. I'm a little bit higher on them once we get Nico Collins back, and that should happen tomorrow. So we'll see. I think there's a chance that they could be a little more interesting when that happens, but still, I think for now they're firmly sixth. I got Chargers 5, Ravens 4. Ravens are the toughest team just because I got the same order. Honestly, I'm with you
Mm-hmm.
there. The Ravens are the toughest team for me. I guess honestly we could transition right into that. Because yeah, I have the same order, but like this Ravens team, man, like it's so annoying. Like it's just so annoying. They are so absolutely frustrating. This
Yeah.
team on its best day is the best team maybe in football. If
Mm-hmm.
if not very at the very least the AFC. But they have the dumbest freaking losses I've ever seen in my life. Like, I want to give credit to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh did play very well in this game. And from what we've seen from Lamar Jackson this season, I know that they have this record against Lamar Jackson. What are they, 4-1 now against Lamar? So they're clearly been doing something right for a long time. So they deserve a ton of credit. And, Justin Tucker did miss 2 field goals. But, like, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like on their best day, they can, like, absolutely curb stop anybody in the league. but then they just like lose these stupid games. They lose stupid games so much. I've never seen a team just like play so up and down, it seems like at times. This team should be the best team in football at their best, but they don't. They do it half the time, and that's why they're going to lose in the playoffs again. They're going to do it again in January. We bought ourselves into this Ravens team being awesome, and guess what? Every time we watch them play against, what is it, Denver, they look sick. Good.
Mm-hmm.
You look sick against Denver in week 9. We're going to see this team January 15th, and they're going to score 13 points and have 2 dumb turnovers in the red zone. And we're going to be like, why do the Ravens keep losing in the playoffs? Because they keep doing this all the time. It's just so frustrating.
It's hard. It's hard to argue against it. Certainly, that's what history would tell us. So, with Super Chat, the Steelers have short week after both Baltimore games, which is rough. Yeah, that's. I didn't realize the Steelers got stuck with multiple Thursday games because they have the Christmas Day game against the Chiefs. That feels like that shouldn't have happened to them. That sucks for the Steelers. One of those is week 17 as well. So yeah, at least getting to play the Browns on Thursday, that hopefully shouldn't hurt you too much. But yeah, the Ravens are incredibly frustrating. You're absolutely right. Lamar did not play great, and I actually thought the Ravens did an all right job at handling the pass rush for the Steelers. Usually, the Steelers pass rush dominates everyone, and I'm not saying they didn't have their moments, but like I thought that the Ravens did an all right job at handling it, and they still weren't able to to get guys open. We talked about this receiving core looking great. Did not look great in this game. Yes, I will say though, again, we're talking about Baltimore. Kyle, it seems like every year the Steelers beat the Ravens, and we're all like, wow, Ravens really blew it. What a bad loss by the Ravens. I don't feel like they blew it. I feel like the Steelers were the better team. I feel like the Steelers are a better team than the Ravens. I really do.
Yeah. This defense is just they're so havoc inducing, right? Like, the metrics still say the Ravens were better on a down per down basis, but the Steelers controlled the ball. They did what they wanted to do. They kept the game script going, and Russell Wilson wasn't, I'd say, good in this game, honestly, but he made the plays when he had to George Pickens, which is a great luxury to have when you have George Pickens. They ran the ball when they needed to, and then they got stops, and that was really impressive. I think the impressive part of this game was the secondary, honestly. Like you were saying, this Ravens receiving room had really developed throughout the season and really looked like a group that was going to move this team to the next level, even with their backfield being as dynamic as it is. And these guys in the secondary shut them down. Like, they just find ways to create problems and create mismatches. And, they plugged up the holes in the middle, and they did so much so much good stuff in this game. It's an impressive defensive group.
Yeah, if you want to say, oh well, they got some special teams help, they got they won the turnover battle. That's what they do. They do this all the time. And it used to be they would do this to win games they had no business winning. Now they're doing this to win games they have business winning. It's looking even better. I want to shout out Mike Tomlin. He had a couple of just little things that were really smart. For one thing, on the 2-point attempt that the Ravens had to try and tie the game, he called a timeout right before they started to play, essentially just forcing them to burn their best play, and now they have to go to their second best play on a 2-point attempt. Also putting Fields in at the end when they need to run the clock out, trying to ice the game. Putting Fields in, having him run the ball. Why not? They know you already know that the Steelers are running the ball, so you don't lose the element of surprise. Now Fields, buddy, you got to take
almost
the hit
blew
there.
it.
Yeah, you can't slide a yard short.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I thought he did a great job in this game too. He kind of knew the limitations of his team, and he knew the strengths too. And that I thought the first time out was really good, like you said, on the 2-point conversion. And that second play was just, honestly, one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. I don't think anybody was ready to catch a pass. So I don't know. It was interesting though. It was interesting. So yeah, I was very impressed with the Steelers in this game. As much as I'm frustrated with the Ravens, I'm also impressed with the Steelers. I think they can compete with the big boys, man. Like, Russell Wilson still has his struggles, but he's a better quarterback than they've had since like that last Big Ben and Antonio Brown season, where Big Ben was crazy. He's the best quarterback they've had since then. Like, I don't know if they're going to win in the playoffs, but they definitely look like they can compete with almost anybody.
Yeah, and I don't even think this was his best game, but I agree. This Steelers team just feels so different, and they still have the good, random, weird, good parts of the team that they've had for the past 10 years. Um, and they play Kansas City week 17. Who knows? That could be for the 1 seed.
What this Pittsburgh team winning the 1 seed would be the craziest outcome possible, I think.
Yeah, either way, they've been a lot of fun to watch this season, which usually they're not a lot of fun to watch. So that's cool. Let's move on, Kyle. We are 3 games in, and we're 30 minutes into the show, so we're gonna have a long show. It seems. We got
Those are the biggest games. We definitely did our justice with that one. There are more breezable games coming up, but there's a few good ones still.
Yeah, a few good ones, including the Packers Bears. I mean, this poor Bears team cannot buy a win, finding ways to lose. If you missed the game, the Bears and Packers kind of had this back and forth battle. Both quarterbacks had their ups and downs, but I thought both played pretty well.
Yeah.
The Caleb Williams in the Bears have the lead, but then there's this kind of crazy Christian Watson play where it's a blitz and the player covering him falls down, and then the throw is like off, but Christian Watson makes a great diving catch to catch it anyway, and then he runs for almost a touchdown. They score a little bit later on, take the lead. Then Caleb Williams has this really impressive drive. There was at one point it was a 3rd and 18. They get 16 yards and then convert to 4th down right after. Williams had another couple nice plays in that drive. The decision, the Eberflus decision was they got to around to where it would be a 50-yard field goal, and instead of deciding to continue trying to move the ball down the field, they ran the ball once, killed the last 35 seconds, and kicked the field goal from there. It gets tipped. Which, maybe if it's closer, it's a higher arc and doesn't get tipped. But the Bears ultimately lose yet again to the Packers. Kyle, out of the last 29 times these two teams have played each other, the Bears have won 3 of them.
Yeah. And what is it, the last 12 at least?
I think I'm not sure because they won with Matt Nagy and Trubisky in the Cody Parkey year.
Oh yeah. What a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot to talk about with this game, obviously.
Here, 1 second. Just a super chat. The Steelers have got the golf cart girls number. Yes, they absolutely do, Michael.
I'm glad that is held up. I felt like that was one of my good analogies. So I'm glad that's holding up. Mm-hmm. So let's keep it up. A lot to talk about with this game, though.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears offense looks so much better with the offensive coordinator change.
It does.
And the funny thing was, you mentioned that last drive, and I was thinking all day, wow, the way they are scripting this for Caleb Williams, he's getting the ball out quickly. They're asking him to make quick decisions, and he's making them. He's making quick passes. They're not worried about the downfield stuff yet. They're going to work that into it probably in the future, but let's just get the ball out quickly because he hadn't been doing that all season. He immediately in the last drive of the game where they need him to put some plays together, takes 2 sacks. The first one was definitely his fault. The second one was bad protection. He immediately takes 2 sacks and sets up this 3rd and 19. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, here we go. Now it's going to be the Caleb Williams thing all over again. But then it's like part of the reason why you love this stuff about Caleb Williams sometimes is that 3rd and 19 play. He dips under a defender, avoids the other one, and fires like a 15-yard pass down the field that was laser. Then he converts the 4th and 3. Then he has another big play down the field. And all of a sudden they're in field goal range. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Caleb Williams' first game in the Packers-Bears rivalry is going to be breaking this Bears curse and getting a win. This is going to be the stuff of legends. We're here. And then the Bears are the Bears and make this happen again. I mean, just an unbelievable turn of events that they end up losing this game. I thought he played fantastic. I thought both of these quarterbacks honestly played really well outside of the turnover, but like it was a really good game from both sides, and 20-19 I don't think does these quarterbacks justice because I thought it was really good play.
Yeah, I can't believe the Bears blew this game. I thought that they were going to win it. I thought this was going to happen for them. It's unbelievable. Jordan Love had another one of these really weird games where his stat line is 13 for 17 for 261 yards. But like one of those was the Christian Watson long play I talked about. He also had one where he was another Christian Watson play where he just threw it up into double coverage and Christian Watson made the play. He did have an ugly interception, but he also had some really nice throws in there as well. Like the Christian Watson double coverage play was a really nice throw. So like, I still don't know what to make of Jordan Love. He is unlike any quarterback in the league. I feel like he totally has the chaoticness that like an Anthony Richardson has, but then he just gives you way more positives than someone like Anthony Richardson has. I still can't figure him out.
Yeah, he's definitely frustrating. Like, he is going to lose this team playoff games in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also probably going to win them some playoff games, like that Dallas game last season with how good he was. So
Yeah,
it's just like you got to take the good with the bad, I guess. But he's definitely one of the most frustrating, interesting players in the league. But, he made some big plays in this game. Obviously, he had that big run late in the game, too, that got him down to the 1 yard line. Took a big hit in that one. I thought him and Josh Jacobs were really good in this game. I mean, it felt like Josh Jacobs was just in control a lot of this early game. And so, yeah, I thought it was impressive for him and impressive to fight back. And the interception was definitely a bad one, but he had some excellent plays too. So I got to give him credit for that too. So it was really good.
yeah, and I think they only had like 6 possessions in this game too. It was absolutely crazy. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to this is one where we can. Well, let's go here. Let's go Seahawks 49ers because this was another incredible game. Again, what a week this week was. Again a game felt like the Niners were going to just take it. They did lose Nick Bosa late in this game. That definitely hurt them. But it was Geno Smith. I mean, he made plays. He had a couple nice rushes in there, including the game-winning rushing touchdown with no timeouts left, with like 20 seconds left. Bit of a bold call there, but if it works, it works. And I mean, the Seattle Seahawks stay alive. The 49ers now find themselves 5-5 out of a playoff spot, and they still play Green Bay, Buffalo, the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals. They have no easy games left unless you count the Bears.
Yeah, I would say I count the Bears still. I know they play,
but even
better
that
today.
Isn't like the Bears.
It's not a foregone conclusion. Yeah,
it's not the Mac Jones Jaguars.
Nothing is. The last 2 weeks have not been pretty there. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough schedule down the stretch still either way. Like, none of those teams are for sure wins. Definitely. I would say the Bears is the closest one, but it's not crazy to say they lose it. I mean, this is going to be tough if this team wants to make it up. Now, granted, they still have one of the more talented rosters, so it could happen, but I don't know if I'm seeing enough from some of these guys. Like, it seems like one guy a week is having like the pop-off game, and it's been Jawan Jennings the last couple weeks, honestly. He's had a terrific season, but like, they're just not getting enough of like the diversity of the offense that we're so used to seeing. This team has so many weapons, and it just feels like not enough of them are being exploited. And it just seems a lot easier than we're used to seeing from San Francisco. So it's definitely a frustrating thing there. And then, like you said, it just feels like every year we're either going San Francisco's dominant, they're a juggernaut, or San Francisco's injured, and all of a sudden they're on the brink of missing the playoffs. And this is definitely leading more towards a San Francisco's injured season, even if it's not as much as we're used to seeing from them in some of those bad seasons.
Yeah. I mean, because you think, they didn't have Kittle in this game. They pretty much didn't have Ayuk all year because when he was playing early on, he was so rusty, like he wasn't himself. Fuck, he finally got to be himself and then immediately gets injured. So, like, they pretty much have been about him all year. And, I mean, like, yes, Christian McCaffrey is great. Yes, Jawan Jennings is great. First off, how good do we feel Deebo Samuel is? Because he had that one amazing year. He hasn't really been he'll make great plays, but he hasn't really been like a dominant force. He's still good. He's still a good player. But like, I mean, I think that those are your two best skill players is Kittle and Ayuk.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the take in the summer, right? Like, because it was the whole like, they have all these salaries, but they can't pay Ayuk. Then everyone was kind of saying, well, trade Deebo Samuel to pay Ayuk. And I think that probably would have been the right play. However, they managed to make it work with all of them. But, I think that, he's someone that they definitely can scheme for still and make things happen because he has done that before in the past, obviously. And he's still very talented. He can take the ball out of the backfield every now and then. He creates these big plays and is explosive sometimes, but it's not the same. It really isn't. And I don't think he's quite the guy that was hyped up as he is. But he is, I mean, he's a fun, like, jack of all tools player and probably the best at it. But, like, I don't think he's quite as good as everyone was saying he was at his best.
gun to your head, do the 49ers make the playoffs this year?
Oh man, gun to your head. Let me take a look. Let me pull up the standings again. So currently they're behind Seattle, they're behind Los Angeles, Washington, Green Bay. I mean, they're 2 games behind Washington, or a game and a half.
The NFC wildcard is really tough because you have Washington, the Vikings, and the Packers are all. The Packers are currently the 7th seed with a 7-3 record. So
the issue is like Washington has Dallas, Tennessee, New Orleans next on the schedule, and Dallas again without Dak Prescott, basically. Like there's a chance that they're going to get at least 10 wins, even if they don't beat the Falcons or Eagles. And then they might get 11 wins if they beat the Saints too. Like, if that's my case, then no, I don't think they will, because I don't think this team's going to get to 11 wins at this point.
I think the way they would have to do it would probably be to get the Cardinals to lose a couple games and win the division. I mean, that's kind of where you're at. And you got to deal with Seattle. We got to talk about them. 2 teams played in this game. They kind of keep their season alive here. Again, they play Arizona twice in the next 3 weeks. I mean, that could be kind of the season for them. If they can pull out a couple victories there, that's how they could maybe make the playoffs. They have some tough games on their schedule as well. But I don't know. I mean, Seattle continues to be the up and down team of the season.
Yeah, they definitely are. The defense played so much better in this game, which makes no sense, but they continue to do it. So I just pulled it up because I was curious, because I mean, all these teams are still separated by a game, right? So I mean, we're looking at it now. So San Francisco has the 4th hardest remaining strength of schedule. They have Detroit, Buffalo, Green Bay, Arizona, Los Angeles. Their easiest opponents are the Bears and the Dolphins, which really isn't that easy given the way the Dolphins have played. Seattle is the 9th hardest schedule remaining, with Minnesota, Green Bay, Arizona twice, Los Angeles. The Jets and the Bears are their easiest schedule remaining. Arizona is 19th easiest schedule remaining, with the Vikings, the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks twice. They're easy. They get the Patriots and Panthers, which should be 2 wins. And then where's Los Angeles? Oh, they have the 11th easiest for schedule. So their easiest opponents are the Saints and the Jets. Like, the Arizona's in a good spot. They have the game lead and they have the schedule in their favor right now. But yeah, I mean, this version of Seattle can absolutely compete with anybody. Like, if they get those 2 wins against Arizona, they can absolutely take this division. And Geno Smith continues to play awesome. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's their best receiver. I don't even care anymore. You could call it hot take. He's their best receiver. Like, he just is.
Okay.
Well, I don't care at me.
43 minutes into the show. I don't think we can get too far into, is Jackson Smith and Jigba the best Seahawks receiver, but maybe a topic for another show. He's been very good this year.
Yeah, I mean their numbers are basically even. He actually has more yards now, but yeah, I think he's their best receiver.
Also, I don't know why my light turned on overhead. I don't know what happened here, but let's move on. We got some other games. Let's go to Jaguars Lions.
The Cowboys Stadium?
Yeah, I think so. Exactly. Jaguars Lions. Kyle, did you get any flashbacks to the last time a team started off with 7 straight touchdowns to start a game? Mac Jones was also playing in that game. It was the playoff game against the Patriots Bills.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome. What'd I do here?
No, because I was too busy looking at my fantasy score this week, and it was fantastic. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff, and that was fun. I also actually have Sam Laporta in that league, and I dropped him at the last second because he was out. Or I didn't drop him. I put him on my bench at the last second because he was out, and added Taysom Hill as my starting tight end. So I have 210 points this week. It's going well.
Okay, well done. Yeah, you have a very Detroit Lions-esque performance by you. Yes,
this was dominant. I mean, the coaching change is happening tomorrow, right? Like, this is it. This has to be it. Like, I don't see it. We did call the last one, by the way, with Dennis Allen. I think this is the next one. I'm calling it again. This is it.
I mean, Ian Rappaport tweeted out before the game, if they lose, this could be it for Doug Peterson, which I don't think I've ever heard before. I don't think I've ever seen Ian Rappaport say this, preview a potential head coaching firing. And maybe this had an adverse effect on it. Hey guys, if you lose this game, your head coach might get fired. Maybe it gave them the wrong idea.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like this obviously wasn't ideal. Um, I mean, I just don't know what to say. Like this team is lifeless. The offensive line isn't good. Brian Thomas Jr. is the only guy that had a good game in this game. Like I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he keeps
Hmm.
doing it. Um, they had
Hey, they
one
had a
pass
lead in this game.
deflection. Yeah, what's that?
They had a lead in this game, went up 3-0.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they opened the game with the touchdown. So
Hmm.
I mean, just look at the
It's a
numbers here. They
comeback
had
victory for the Lions.
they had one pass deflection to 4 passing touchdowns and 5 incompletions. They had 3 tackles for loss compared to 3 rushing touchdowns. Like, I mean, that's insane. Like they basically they could have put a practice squad out there and it probably would have been better than this.
Yeah, I think previewing this, so I locked up the Lions despite the fact that they were 3.5 point favorites. Clearly, that was not even close to enough. I think you had said, like, what if Hendon Hooker was in there? I'm like, yeah, I'm still taking the Lions with Hendon Hooker. Like, he came in and had a field goal drive. Like, this
Mhm.
is, I mean, let's whatever. Jaguars are the Jaguars. This Lions team feels like they should be Super Bowl favorites for no other reason than they're playing in the NFC along with doing this. They're the way they just dominate these bad teams. I mean, it's unbelievable. And again, they play in the NFC, which I think there's a lot of good teams in the NFC. I don't think there are the great teams that there are in the AFC other than the Lions. I think
Mhm.
the Lions, I mean, as of right now, they're playing the best through 10 games. If this is a college football schedule thing, you have to make the Lions the, ranked number one.
Yeah, they're easily number 1 right now,
Hmm.
especially with the Chiefs loss. There's no other debate about it. I mean, this team realistically has played 3 bad halves of football this season. And 2 of them they won. You know, they played the bad first half against the Texans, won that one because they came back. They had that bad half against the Cardinals where it was a bit of a mess in that second half. Still won because they held Arizona to 3 points in that second half, anyways. And then they had the bad half against Tennessee, or not Tennessee, Tampa Bay. I don't even know who I was looking at there. Bad half against Tampa Bay, and they lost that one because they couldn't make up the ground in the second half. So I mean, they've basically played flawless football other than those 3 half games. And yeah, I don't see anybody right now in the NFC who I think's close to them. I just don't. I know Philadelphia's played well. We're going to talk about them in a second. There just seems to be a gap between them and everybody else.
Yeah. Anything can happen. Still a long season, but as of right now, they feel very good. How weird is it that the one defense that has shut down the Lions offense, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
They had guys healthy then, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was week 2.
Let's go to this is another close game. Colts Jets. There's a lot of storylines. I mean, the Jets, whatever. They stink. We can get into it, I guess. Kyle, I was gonna say the Jets look so old out there. I heard Jake Paul wants to fight them.
Oh boy.
Hmm.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, the early stats in this game, like at one point it was like 3 of 10 for 10 yards for Aaron Rodgers, like something like that. And like they couldn't get any passes beyond the line of scrimmage. Obviously, they got going later in this game, but like, man, it was so ugly to start. And like, not only that, like, I mean, all of this is bad. Like, the coaching firing is now looking like the worst decision I've seen. Like, keep firing the coach who was coaching a very good defense, and then keeping Nathaniel Hackett, who was coaching just an objectively bad offense, terrible offense, is now just looking horrible because you don't have a good defense. I mean, did you see what Anthony Richardson was doing all year? I mean, I know he came back and, maybe that brought some energy to him and brought some energy to the team, getting him back in the huddle, all that kind of stuff. And he was not flawless by any means in this
Hmm.
game, but like the fact that he could make throws in this game is a lot better. I mean, 20 or 30 is like a career day for him.
Yeah.
And like, this is what we called one of the best secondaries in the league last season. Like, what are we doing here? What are
Yeah.
we doing?
Not just that, but Rodgers was getting on some of the fourth down decision making calls. Like there was, the Jets scored a touchdown to go up 7 points. Aaron Rodgers wanted to go for 2 to make it a 9 point game, which I kind of agreed with because the way Anthony Richardson can play in short yardage situations, they decided to just kick the extra point. That actually worked out because the Colts scored a touchdown, went for 2 and didn't get it. But then later, the Jets had a 4th and 2. It's basically the same situation the Bills were in. They elect to kick the field goal, and then they give up the game-winning touchdown at the end. I thought Richardson was great in that final drive. I think he was
Mhm.
definitely a roller coaster throughout most of the game. There still are like he can't fumble that ball there. Like there's still issues with his game. but like you see the positives, and I don't think they win this game with Flacco out there.
Yeah, definitely not. So, I mean, he definitely has his issues. I mean, that's not, but we've always seen the talent. It's never been an issue with talent with Anthony Richardson. So it was a very good performance, I thought, for him overall. A huge confidence booster. And, Indianapolis is still lingering in this thing somehow. They dropped those last 2 games. Things couldn't look worse, but like, they're still in a position to make a run at this thing if they can. They got some, they got the Lions next week, so maybe not next week, but like they play Denver. They're another team that plays Denver that's chasing them. So maybe they can make up some ground there.
If they beat Denver,
Patriots,
they're making the
Titans, and
playoffs.
Giants. Yeah, I mean the other 4 games besides the Lions are
Yeah.
winnable. So it probably would happen. I mean it probably would.
I mean, one of the issues is that like they didn't have to win those games. Like that's something we always get into, where like the team with the easy schedule, sometimes we think, oh, they're gonna make the playoffs, but we forget that like they might not be that good. But like, yeah, I mean, this is very much a playoff contender.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they should be. And it's not crazy to say they make up the ground. And what's next for the Jets? Are they running this back?
I mean, we can't do this every week. Like they're a bad team. Like they're screwed. Like nothing. Like they're bad. It's what it is. They should tank. That's what they should do. But I don't know if they will.
But tank for what? Like I don't know.
For better draft capital.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like I don't know. They're probably going to bring all this crew back with the new coaching staff. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen.
I guess so, but I just like. I mean, again, like I don't think Devontae Adams looks like prime Devontae Adams. Like I'm so uninterested in watching this team do it again.
Yeah. Unless it's in Minnesota.
Right.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that makes sense. Like let Rodgers go somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a real case it happens. I mean, there's a real case he just, ends up in a darkness retreat and retires, but we'll see.
We'll see. Let's move. I mean, he said he was like 95% ready to retire when he but then like he got something happened like made him to say, I want to go and stay another year. At this point, he has to be 100% sure. If that was true, that he was 95% ready to retire before he decided to go to the Jets, like I can't imagine this has sold him on wanting to continue to play.
I'm 100% ready for him to retire. Let's just put a bow on this thing, man.
And he hasn't been the problem at all, like play-wise. Play has been fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's been bad, but like, he's not a ceiling raiser anymore. It's an issue. Yeah. Like, he's not the kind of guy like some of these other quarterbacks we talked about that can, make up mistakes. He just can't.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's go through some of these other games. I think let's go to Rams Patriots. Kyle, Drake May. It feels like you can just replay a clip over and over again every week. Of like Drake May look really good outside of a couple plays, right? Like it seems like that's just kind of who he is right now. Which, hey, there's worse things to have your rookie quarterback be than that. Because he can make some really nice plays too. You ran into Matthew Stafford, on his best day. Like, good luck.
Yeah, our coverage situation here was not ideal for playing Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Our game plan didn't make a lot of sense. Like that, Cooper Kupp basically went untouched on a blitz. So we were in man coverage because it was a blitz, and they threw it to Kupp. And for some reason, like Christian Gonzalez was on DeMarcus Robinson on this play, and it's just like, let's not do that. That's my take. But yeah, it was just I think he had 9 passes that it resulted in 4 touchdowns during a stretch of this game. The defense was horrible. And Stafford was really good too. And Nacua and Kupp were also excellent. So I do have to give them credit. But yeah, I mean, this might have been my favorite Drake May performance of the year, honestly. That last throw, like it was 3rd and long, and they've all said now that there was a miscommunication between Douglas and Drake May. So I don't exactly know what was supposed to happen on that play. But there was some sort of miscommunication on that one. I still think it was kind of on Drake May because I think Douglas had the right route idea if it was an option there. But anyway, he was trying to make something happen at the end of the game there, and it's unfortunate, but like, I thought he made some really good throws in this game again. He didn't try and, outside of that last throw, like I said, at the end of the game, he wasn't really trying to do those force the ball downfield throws that he had the last few weeks, and really took what the defense gave him. And I mean, in those 10 complete incompletions too, there was, Keyshawn Boutte drop. There was a couple other big drops. There was they had another play where they got 4th and 1, and then Jalen Polk had a false start in one of his few snaps of the game. And I thought he overcame a lot, and they kind of abandoned the run game because they fell behind. And he still made good plays.
Gotcha. So where are we at with Drake May? What is the? Are you convinced he's going to be a superstar? Feel like there's superstar potential, or like we'll see where it goes.
I'm pretty convinced he's going to be a star.
Okay.
Like, I do think there are legitimate flashes of Justin Herbert, Josh Allen in him. He still has a lot to work on. He still has a lot to clean up, but he has it's just one of those things. Like, you're just a casual person and watch him throw the ball compared to like watching Mac Jones throw the ball, and you're just like, that's different. And watching him run, I mean, it's a lot of Herbert-esque stuff. Honestly, I think it's very similar attributes. So, yeah, I just think that there are a lot of things that I really like. The one guy I'm not convinced on is Gerard Mayo.
Okay, elaborate.
So it's just like there's plays here and there that just drive me insane. I think he's way too conservative of a coach. I know he's trying and he doesn't have the most talent, so I think that plays a part in his conservative approach. But like, they got all the way down to the 2-yard line in a 21-10 game. They kicked the field goal on 4th and 2 after getting a delay game penalty on it. He had a few decisions in this game, 4th down wise, that just didn't make a ton of sense. I just think that he took a chance with his defensive coordinator hiring a new DC, never called plays, and it just hasn't worked out, man. Like, he seems like a likable guy, the defensive coordinator, but like, I don't understand how you could go into this game blitzing Stafford all the time when he has all of his weapons. If Kupp or Nakua, if one of the two wasn't out there, I'd be all for it. But I don't know. We threw so many blitzes at him when like Matthew Stafford's seen everything. There's nothing that you could throw at Matthew Stafford as a new defensive coordinator that he hasn't seen. And we're just like trying to catch him by surprise on a lot of these plays. So I just think, I don't think the coaching hiring has worked for him. I think the decision-making in games hasn't worked for him. I think he's gotten the guys to compete at times. So I think he's going to get another chance. He's going to get another year. And I mean, he probably does deserve another year. I'm just not I'm not convinced on the long-term outlook for Gerard Mayo as a coach.
Gotcha. Well, let's move on. Let's go to let's go from one rookie quarterback to another rookie quarterback. How about the offensive rookie of the year candidate all of a sudden? Bo Nix here, 28 for 33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyle, we sort of joked about Sean Payton taking the NFC South thing personal. He is now, the Broncos have gone 4-0 in the against the NFC South teams, with the average score being 31-9 in these games. Yeah, I think Sean Payton definitely taking out some aggression on the NFC South, I suppose. We'll talk about the Falcons in a second, but this Broncos team, I mean, they've done this a couple times where they've just looked really good. I mean, this was maybe one of their better wins of the season.
Better wins. I mean, this was dominant. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
but they've had other games where they've not been. Yeah. I mean, like every NFC South game.
Yeah, this was one of the most impressive rookie performances in some time, right? Like, I mean, it was up there. I mean, he made some really good throws, and I continue to say he does not have a lot of talent on this team. Like, I think there's more talent in like New England's receiving room, which is saying a lot because it's guys like, obviously he has Sutton, who is a good player, but it's like Devon Bell and like Lil Jordan Humphrey and Marvin Mims Jr. I mean, it's crazy what they're asking him to do, and he was able to do it in a game like this. I just want to pat ourselves on the back because our locks won their games by a combined of 90-12. So go us. Yeah, that was pretty impressive. But yeah, this was an awesome performance for Denver. I mean, this is kind of a statement-y win. Like that, you wonder how this team's going to bounce back after a loss like they took last week. And I mean, they took punches in the mouth from the two of the best teams in the AFC, and then they came back and delivered one with this. And I mean, they're in a great spot still. I mean, I know they've still got to play Indianapolis and Los Angeles and Cincinnati, teams that are, two of those teams that are chasing them. They are chasing Los Angeles, and they end the season with KC, who now hasn't locked up the 1 seed, obviously, as we talked about. So those last 4 games are going to be a stretch, but like they're going to get their next 2 wins, and they just got to take a couple of those games against teams competing with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's It's interesting. Obviously, you really think about that blocked field goal against the Chiefs now, because had they won that, they'd be in a great position playing the Raiders, Browns, and Colts their next 3 games. Might have to beat a tough team to get in, but they definitely have a great chance, and especially with performance like this. Kyle, we got to talk about the other side of the field here. The Atlanta Falcons are kind of in a free fall here after riding high, being able to beat the Buccaneers for the second time. They beat the Cowboys in a game that maybe got a little close at the end, but they won that one relatively handedly. Now they've lost to the Saints and Sean Payton in back-to-back weeks. I mean, this is devastating for Atlanta Falcons fans. They look horrible in this game, and Kirk Cousins, it wasn't all his fault, but he doesn't look very good in this game. The defense has just looked abysmal all season for Atlanta, and this is a team now where I still think they probably win the NFC South because they still do have a game and a half lead on Tampa Bay and a tiebreaker, but they play the Chargers and the Vikings the next 2 weeks. In Tampa, or they have a bye week actually, and then they play the Chargers and Vikings. Tampa Bay has 3 easy wins. We could be looking on our December 8th show talking about the Buccaneers back in first place if the Falcons don't turn things around.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I just haven't really been sold on this team this entire season. Like, I talked about this a lot on Wednesday when I made the pick. I don't know. I just haven't really been convinced in their wins, even though they've gotten those wins. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't think that things worked. And this team just feels very game scripty. Like, the big thing in this game is like when they can't establish Bijan Robinson and use him effectively in the run game, like, I just don't think there's enough juice in this passing game to like go off script like that. They don't have the ability to really do that, and I just don't think it's enough, honestly. So yeah, I think that they have a real problem when they can't establish their running game, because I don't think they're good enough in the passing game, pass protection. I don't think there are other receivers other than Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who didn't play in this game. Or no, he did play in this game, sorry, but he he's been banged up a little bit. And I just don't think they have enough enough juice in this team other than those guys.
Yeah, I did think London played very well. I think part of it too was just playing the Denver Broncos secondary, which is very good. But I agree, they need to play a very specific brand of football. Kyle, let me throw this out there for you. It's 1:00. We could have a tinfoil hat take here. Is it Michael Penix Jr. time?
They can't do it because of what they invested. That's why this is so bizarre, this situation. Like,
I thought he looked good out there. He played a drive. He looked good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked fine in that drive. I mean, it was the end of the game, so I don't know, the level of competition of it at that point.
Yeah.
But, I think he's got talent. I mean, at that point, if you're ready to do that, then, I mean, this Kirk Cousins thing is probably the worst signing in some time, free agent signing. I mean, that's horrible to be stuck in that situation.
Yeah, but you're here, right? You're already here. So at this point, like, if you're all of a sudden coach of the Falcons, what do you do?
Yeah, I think I still got to ride with Kirk Cousins, but it's definitely got to be on the back of your mind. And it's a weird dynamic, and Kirk has had some really good games in this year. Like, it's not long ago that he had a 500-yard passing game. It happened this season, but he's also had some abysmal games.
Yeah, they can still turn it around. It's just they're in a weird, and this is kind of last thing I'll say on this is part of why I really didn't like the decision to both pay Cousins and draft Michael Penix. Is you're kind of in like you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're kind of building for the future, but you're also trying to win right now. If you're trying to win right now, you needed to use that draft capital on something that could help you. It didn't have to be an edge rusher if you didn't want to go edge rusher there. Or if you're going to build for the future, then you could start Michael Penix here and see how things go. Now you're just in this weird situation. But again, they can turn things around. But as of right now, it just looks rough.
Yeah, I still think they win the division. Like you said, they have enough of a gap here, and they still have some winnable games on the schedule. So I think they still get to 9 wins, and that's probably enough.
But then they get destroyed by Minnesota.
Yeah, this is a one and done team. They're not winning a playoff game.
Yeah, no, it's looking rough right now for the Atlanta Falcons. Not there's worse teams to be, but it's maybe not looking as good as it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay, well, let's move on. We have 4 games left. We can, let's go to the Thursday game, and then we maybe can lighten around the last 3 games. This is a very fun game. It was a defensive battle, which I enjoy a defensive matchup sometimes. I don't need every game to be super high scoring. The Eagles, they kept shooting themselves in the foot throughout this
Uh-huh.
game. They were significantly better in this game, I thought. I was getting annoyed because I picked the Eagles to win this one in our picks, and I felt like good about their performance, but they just couldn't get it done. Finally, at the end, they were able to get it done. The Commanders go for it on a 4th down and short when they could have kicked the field goal to take the lead. Does not work out. Then the Eagles go down and score a touchdown to kind of ice it. It was and I think maybe the story of the game was Jaden Daniels for the first time looked human, and he didn't play very well in this game.
No, he didn't. And I mean, honestly, it's kind of back-to-back weeks of not looking 100% right. I know that he played better in the Steelers game, but I still didn't think it was a great performance for him. I don't know, man. Like, he looked kind of hurt in this game, honestly, when I was watching it. Like, it just didn't seem like there was the same like lift on his ball when he was throwing it. So it obviously wasn't his best game, but the Eagles got it done, and I mean, I kind of agree with you. This should have been like a 20-point game, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Eagles continue to be just a weird. They're the weirdest 8-2 team ever, right? Like, this is probably the second best team in the NFC, but there's just so much weirdness going on around them.
It's the least convincing 8-2 team we've had in some time. Like, not only
But
that, but they've like won 6 in a row. They've won 6 in a row and looked convincing in some of these games. But then they also had like that Jaguars game and like just a lot of frustrating moments in between.
I think it's least convincing is the wrong way. I think I would say it's the worst vibes team that's 8-2.
Yeah, nobody's happy for a team that's winning a lot of football games.
Yeah, except for Saquon Barkley. He seems to be having a good time.
Yeah, he's been excellent. I mean, is he offensive player of the year? I mean, there's so many candidates, it feels like this season, especially. Like, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jamar Chase, Saquon, Derrick Henry. Like, how do you differentiate those guys?
I think those that are probably just look at whoever has most yards at the end of the year.
I guess. Yeah. That's always going to be a receiver, though, isn't it? I feel like it always is.
I don't know. I feel like usually it's going to be a running back. I feel like this year it could be a running back. I feel like it could be Saquon, or I think Saquon has a great chance to win it.
Yeah. Give it to all 4 of them. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, a 4-way tie. No, I mean, again, for Washington, they have an easy schedule. They still have a real good chance to win the division because their schedule is so much easier than the Eagles. So it should be fun down the stretch.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, when did Zach Bond turn into Brian Urlacher? That was my other question.
Yeah, that's
this just happened. Like, it's so bizarre. He just became this monster on this team, and like this team desperately needed a linebacker, and all of a sudden, he's not quite a journeyman. He's been a solid player, but he just turned into like this like superstar on defense. It's so bizarre.
And Nakobe Dean's been great too. I mean, sometimes you just find the right guys in the right fit, and it works.
Yeah. It's just an interesting development these last few weeks. I think it's really helped the Eagles defense. That side has looked good, I would say. I think the Eagles defense has looked good the last few weeks. And then like the offense has had its moments like the Cincinnati game, but and I think part of that Dallas game, but they've also had some very frustrating moments. So I am in on the Eagles defense for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. 3 games left. We can go to Vikings Titans. This is the game that I think the Vikings, maybe I feel worse about them just because of how bad the Jaguars looked this week. I'm like, how did you guys almost lose that game? What happened there? But as a whole, again, a game where it feels like they should have won by more than this because they had a kind of a controversial 4th down penalty that allowed them to get 6 more points with a touchdown. Granted, there was also a 98-yard Will Levis touchdown in there that's going to make his numbers look better. Hey, he made some plays. I still don't think he's the.
I mean, that was a
guy.
great throw too. Like,
yeah, sure. But as a whole, I think. I mean, again, I don't know how much we learned with this game.
I don't know, man. Like, I just think this Minnesota team's lost its steam. Like, they really. That's just kind of my take right now. Like, I was kind of all
they're
in
the
on
least convincing 8-2 team.
Yeah, like I was kind of all in early in the season, but like I think they just rode the Darnold hot streak for as long as they could, and it's just like it's like watching the blackjack player or like the craps player is probably a better example for monetary reasons, money wise. But like you just win all this money, and it's like you're way up. You're up. You've tripled your investment at the craps table, and all of a sudden it's like you're just losing $20 at a time or something like that, and you're just like, I can still get it back. I'm still up, and you're just slowly losing the money away. And it's like I just feel like this team's gonna end up broke by the end of the season.
It's certainly possible. I would still say I think I like this defense. I know that they give again. You take out the 98-yard touchdown, and then that you're looking at almost holding back-to-back teams to single digits. Granted, again, not the most dominant back-to-back teams, but still, I mean, this is. I still think the defense is very good. I agree with you though. I don't know how much faith I have in a Sam Darnold led team to go to distance.
No, I mean, we said they're probably going to beat Atlanta, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's not a foregone conclusion. They took the AFC South worst and made it competitive. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's been a rough couple weeks. I don't know. It also could just be. I mean, hey, winning in the NFL is tough. They did win by double digits. Like, I'm not going to freak out too much over this game. I agree they haven't looked super convincing, but still think there is plenty of time for them to get things right.
Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be fine in that regard. But like, I just don't know the ceiling of this team anymore. I don't think it's very high as some of the teams that they're going to have to face. Would you take this team or Green Bay right now?
I would take Green Bay. I would definitely take Green Bay. And I think, like, how about this? If Tampa Bay does win the division, and that's the 4-5 matchup, who did you take?
If Mike Evans is on the field, probably Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree. I think that this is a team that feels like a playoff team. I think they could beat some playoff teams, but I don't really see them going on a run.
Yeah, I don't either.
But we'll see. I mean, again, they looked. I didn't feel that way 3 weeks into the season. Maybe they can get back to that stretch. Let's move on. 2 games left to talk about. Brown Saints. The Jameis Winston revenge game didn't go so great. This was a competitive game. The final score makes it look more lopsided than it was. This was a close game. The Saints end up outscoring the Browns 21-0 in the fourth quarter. It was tied heading into the fourth quarter. Jameis Winston throws for 395 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he continues being a great fantasy football quarterback. I think the Saints team, Kyle, I'm falling into the shop again. I think the Saints team might be all right.
Yeah. They've certainly righted the ship, right? Like, it's just amazing when you have a good quarterback out there, like what it does for you. Like,
yeah, and I think I think Carr was just hurt in the Panthers game. I don't think it was 100% yet.
Yeah. So that 395 yards for Jameis is one of the most misleading, like, great game numbers. Like, it looks like he played out of his mind, and like,
yeah.
I thought he was pretty good. Like, I don't think it was amazing. But yeah, Carr. I mean, Carr, in my opinion, was the better quarterback in this game. I thought he played really well. And I mean, the story of this game is like every year teams see the Saints on their schedule and they're just shaking in their boots. It's not the Taysom Hill game because he gets one a year. He gets one game a year where he's just going to pop off, and you're just hoping it's not you. And we had our Taysom Hill game, so you can forget about Taysom Hill the rest of the season. But like, he had his game, and we're happy for it. And this was fun.
And why do fast receivers for the Saints become like superstar? Like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, like he has another 82 yards and a touchdown in this game.
Yeah. I did see a funny tweet that was like Marquez Valdes-Scantling struggled with journeyman quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But now he's found a nice home with an elite quarterback like Derek Carr. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you get someone like that, hey, Carr does throw a great deep ball. I'll say that.
He has always done that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's quite as good as some of those other guys, but at least there are good things to like about the Saints team. There isn't too big of a hole. They're 4-7. If they didn't lose that Panthers game, they're 5-6. They would be right into hunt, I think. But they have the Commanders still on the schedule, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Rams. I just think they're too far out of it. They're totally going to go 9-8. Missed the playoffs due to a tiebreaker, and then not get a good draft pick again.
Yeah. But I think this team's still more inclined to blow it up now after that trade deadline. I think they're ready.
I think so too. Browns, any thoughts on them? Again, we talked about Jameis Winston. I don't know. Jerry Jeudy had a big day.
Yeah, that 89-yard touchdown makes it look a lot better. I mean, he was good. I do not have any comments on the Browns. I don't care.
Okay, well, let's move on. Raiders Dolphins is the final game to talk about. Again, this is I think the weekly, like, this game could have been an email game.
Yeah. I said this before, and I feel bad because our Raiders fans are very faithful.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what you're tuning in for Raiders games for right now. Like another Brock Bowers excellent performance. He might be the best tight end in the league, honestly. Like that's probably what you're tuning in for. Again, I feel like I keep saying that, but
If
like,
quarterbacks didn't get favorable treatment, he would totally be it, like the offensive rookie of the year.
yeah, oh yeah, like he's been awesome. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but like I don't know. It's hard to wake up every Sunday and say I'm gonna watch a team for their rookie tight end.
Yeah.
That's really what gets me going. I didn't even think this was an awesome Miami performance. I thought they played well. Tua played well.
Mm-hmm.
They got Tyreek Hill going a little bit, which is nice to see because he's been pretty brutal. They really just haven't been able to get him going this season. So he got a few plays in this one. And yeah, I don't know. I do have this question. How does Jonnu Smith keep like ending up on these teams and just like getting a massive amount of target share for like no reason, it feels like? I mean, he had a good game this one, but like I just don't get it.
I was going to say, do you think that Arthur Smith is somewhere really jealous that
Yeah.
someone else got to have a 100-yard and 2 touchdown performance out of Jonnu Smith?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's so weird. It's like they just everywhere he goes, he's just getting this insane target share for a guy who's like maybe not even top 20 tight end in the league. He just keeps finding those opportunities.
Yeah, and also him being number 9 confuses me. That's a really weird number for a tight end.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like
No,
this.
that's bad. That should be banned. I don't know. I get that we don't have banned numbers. Tight ends should have to still be in the 80s. That's the one thing we should keep.
That's a bunch of woke nonsense, honestly. Like I don't even like the term woke, but like that's woke nonsense. No tight end should wear 9.
That's the one acceptable use of the term woke is when you're talking about tight ends wearing the number 9.
Yeah, that and feeling bad for kickers. That's another woke nonsense thing. Like you have one job, kick the ball. Like come on.
Okay,
now.
I didn't realize you were you were like that about kickers.
Yeah, that's just how I feel. You have one job, man. You're
I'm
getting
the
paid millions
opposite.
of dollars for one job.
I would totally melt down if I had to kick a game-winning field goal. Like
I
no
would
chance.
too, but I'm not
That's
getting
going.
paid to kick field goals.
That's fair. That is fair.
Like imagine practicing every day to kick field goals and then having people feel bad for you because you missed a field goal. Like, no, that's woke nonsense. That's another acceptable form of it.
Okay, all right. Well, that was Kyle's woke nonsense corner. Yeah. Okay.
I got another woke nonsense if you want more. I mean,
I don't think I do. I'm good. Like we can move on. Yeah. I have no more thoughts on this game. Good for the Dolphins. Winning a game you had to win. Was a little bit closer to maybe you'd like, but a win is a win. So yeah. Kyle, any final thoughts on this game?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, let them know where you can find us on Twitter, where you can find even more woke nonsense there. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Blueski. No, I'm just kidding. Follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. Yeah, you've livened up the chat here, Kyle.
Hey, I mean, tell me I'm wrong on this one. Just tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, I won't. I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's just I'll come up with something woke every week. How's that?
No. Okay, got it.
Be like, what's going on here? I mean, it might be good for like YouTube engagement. Just keep saying woke.
That's good. Yeah, if like I bet could push through the algorithm. We could even like upload a thing of like Kyle annoyed at NFL being woke, and then it's just like your kicker ran.
Yeah. Here's another one for you. I'll say it anyways. You said not to, but I'm going to say it. NFL coaches wearing dry fit t-shirts. That's woke nonsense.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, I don't like that. Like short sleeve, like, no, you're not about to like put your pads on and play, man. You know that we don't need that.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's good. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we don't want to. I don't want you to burn them all now, Kyle. We have to get people to want to watch our next show.
I'm just gonna keep writing things down. I guess that'll be the first notes I take at the podcast.
Yes. Okay. Again, thank you to everybody, especially those of you staying up till 1:30 or 1:20 on the East Coast right now. Appreciate all of you. Kyle, any final thoughts? Any other woke nonsense you have to say, or are you ready to get out of here?
No, we're all good. Let's get out of here.
Okay. Yes. Thank you to everybody again. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.